Good morning, everyone. I, Dr. Aishwarya Bharat, on behalf of Modern College of Pharmacy, welcomes you all on fifth day of uh, second slot of AICT-sponsored short-term training program on innovations in effective teaching, learning pedagogy, and research skill development. Before starting the session, I would like to give some instructions and uh, I think regularly those who are attending those know that all the participants can raise the questions in the chat box in the Zoom link. You can raise your questions for the session or after the session. Uh, you can give your attendance in the link provided into the chat box of the Zoom link, and the daily quiz will be provided at the Telegram link where you can solve the quiz and submit the Google form on the Telegram link. The link will be provided. So with these instructions, we will start with our first session, and we have with us a very eminent personality for the first session as a speaker, Dr. Sharad Pawar sir. I think the name itself is very familiar. Dr. Sharad Pawar sir is currently working as Assistant Director Pharmacology at Central Ayurveda Research Institute, CARI, Kolkata. He has done his master's degree in veterinary pharmacology and toxicology from Dapoli. He has completed his PhD in biochemistry from Savitribai Phule University, Pune. His topic of thesis was in vitro and in vivo assessment of Ayurvedic formulations for diabetes. Currently, he is working as Assistant Director at Central Ayurveda Research Institute, ARI, Kolkata. He started as Senior Research Fellow at Associate Dean, Bombay Veterinary College in 2000 and 2001. Then he joined as guest lecturer in pharmacology and toxicology at Associate Dean, Bombay Veterinary College since 2001. Then he joined Central Research Institute for Siddha (CRIS) Chennai as research officer from 2006 to 2016, and from 2016 20 he had joined Central Ayurveda Research Institute, Kolkata as Assistant Director. His area of research or his field of specialization is pharmacology and toxicology, in vitro pharmacology, animal and human cell culture, proteomics, and metabolomics. He has completed near about 20 research projects funded by CCRAS New Delhi and with the sponsorship of in crores. So his area of research and the research projects experience is very vast. He has guided postgraduate students 32, near about 32 students, and 6 PhD students he has guided. And currently, 2 PhD students are working under him. He has visited Germany, Max Planck Institute for Brain Research, Frankfurt, and Biomedical Research School, Hanover, GSI Helmholtz Center for Heavy Ion Research, Frankfurt. Uh, the visit was sponsored by Department of Science and Technology, New Delhi. He has 48 research papers and review articles on his name in different peer-reviewed national and international journals. He has attended near about 21 conferences and 39 workshops and training, out of which 15 conferences and 39 conferences were national and 5 were international. He has presented near about 55 papers in different conferences, out of which 52 were national and 3 were international conferences. He has delivered his invited lectures in different conferences, training, workshops, and seminars. With the topics, few of them I will read. Research in Ayurvedic products, in vivo and in vitro pharmacological studies in Ayurvedic research, application of proteomics and metabolomics in Ayurvedic research, proteomics and metabolomics applications in pharmacology research, in vitro cell-based and biochemical approach to decipher pharmacological mechanism of action and potential of Ayurvedic drugs. So his area of specialization, he has already discussed in various guest lectures at different conferences. He has also coordinated the hands-on training in experimental pharmacology. His research experience is in evaluation of Siddha metallic preparations for safety, efficacy, and estimation of metals in serum and tissues, that is, in vital organs. And in life memberships, he is the life member of Indian Institute of Public Administration, IIPA, New Delhi. He is life member of Proteomics Society of India, Hyderabad. He is life member of Indian Society of Veterinary Pharmacology and Toxicology. He is life member of Alumni Association, Bombay Veterinary College, Mumbai. He is life member of Society for Journal of Indian Medicine and Homeopathy, Chennai. So, with this brief introduction, I request Dr. Pawar sir to start with his session. He is today going to share his knowledge about scope of pharmacy and veterinary postgraduates in Ayush research. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You can start.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to all. Madam, I want to share my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, please allow me.
You will be host.
Yes, sir. You are host now.
Yes, sir. You can share.
So everyone can view the slides?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Good morning to all. Actually, the topic of the today is scope for the pharmacy and the veterinary postgraduates in Ayurvedic research. In this case, I'll first go through the what exactly Ayush is, and then we'll go for the what are the various disciplines that are present in the CCRS, and then what are the scope for the pharmacy and the veterinary graduates. Now here, if you see Ayush, everyone must be knowing that since 2014, our government of India has established this new ministry, and previously it was under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now it has been a separate ministry, that is Ministry of Ayush. Our Honorable Sripad Naik sir is the Minister for the Ayush. Under this Ayush, A stands for the Ayurveda, Y stands for Yoga, U stands for Unani, S for the Siddha, H for Homeopathy. Under this Ayush, we have 5 different councils. One is for the Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences, that deals with all the research related to Ayurveda. Then second is Central Council for Research in Homeopathy, that deals with the research in homeopathy. Then third council is Central Council for Research in Siddha, that deals with the research that is in the Siddha system of medicine. Then fourth is the Central Council for Research in Yoga and Naturopathy. Then fifth one is Central Council for Research in Unani. As I am in the Central Council for Research in Ayurvedic Sciences, I will be giving the detail of the Central Council for the Research in Ayurvedic Sciences, how we do the research, what are the research activities that we carry out. Moreover, if you see all these councils, they function with the same, whatever the mandate we have, they are the similar to the other councils also. So as they are the common objective or the aim is the dissemination of the or the research of the Indian system of the medicine. Now under this CCRS, if you see under the research activities, we do the preclinical research activities. Under that, we have 5 gardens. That is for the crude drug material collections. Under this, we have the garden at Jhansi. Then we have the garden at Pune. Then Cherutirthi. Then we have the garden at Ranikhet. So these are various. These are the gardens which we contain. We have the medicinal plant. We see about the Pune, it is located in Kothur. It is total area. It is 19.5 acres, and this particular institute, that garden has the near about 450 medicinal plant presently in the garden. The purpose of this thing is that whatever the supply of the medicines we require for the research, they are readily available in our garden. If they are not there, then our officers, we have the survey officers from botany, pharmacognosy. They do the survey and they collect the medicinal plant from the reservoirs, natural reservoirs. Yeah, we contain in Maharashtra. It can be from Mahabaleshwar, then from the Bhandara district, and many other places where we get the particular plants. Even Sihagarh area also, we have the good flora, medicinal plants. This is about the gardens. Then after that, we have the botany and pharmacognosy. So in botany, we do the identification, collection of the plants, authentication of the plant. Even pharmacognosy, everyone, we are from the M-Pharm pharmacognosy, so everyone must be knowing what are the powder microscopy and all these things we are doing under the pharmacognosy department. Then we have, for the quality control, we have the chemistry department. Then after that, we have the pharmacology, where we do in vitro and in vivo. In case of in vitro, we have a specialized department at Pune, that is Regional Ayurveda Research Institute, Kothur, where we only do the in vitro pharmacology experiment. They are in the biochemical one, biochemical assays, or the cell-based assays that are done in the Kothur, Regional Ayurveda Research Institute, Kothur. And other in vivo pharmacology we are doing at Kolkata, then Cherutirthi, that is in Kerala, Chennai, then next one is at Gwalior. So these are the centers where we do all the pharmacological efficacy and safety studies. All of the drugs that are of the Ayush, we are doing the clinical trial with our OPDs. We have the good OPD and IPD hospitals at clinics at various institutions. We have, I will in detail, I will give total, we have 10 central research institutes. They are the central 10, and remaining 21, they are the regional offices. So central offices is at Delhi, then Bhubaneswar, Kolkata, Bombay, Chennai, Cherutirthi, Patiala. These are the various central Ayurveda research institutes, and others are the regional Ayurveda institutes, and they are located in each state. In Maharashtra, if we see, we have the regional Ayurveda institute at Pune, and second one is at Nagpur. Then in case of the clinicals, IPD and OPD, we have the biochemistry and pathology departments where we do the human biochemistry and pathology. Then we do have molecular biology. This was with the aim to find out the mechanism of action of the various Ayurvedic drugs. As we know that we are not having the full mechanism of Ayurvedic drugs, how they really act. So for doing those research, the Pune Institute was developed, and the name itself, previously it was known as Regional Ayurveda Institute for Fundamental Research. That was working on the aim of the mandate of that particular institute is in vitro pharmacology, proteomics, metabolomics, and fundamental research. So whatever the fundamental research is there, what are the various principles of Ayurveda, Rasa, Guna, Vipak and all. Yeah. So that research, it is done at the Pune, and there they have the molecular biology recent. Just in 2021 January, I joined Kolkata. Before that, I was in Pune only. So in that molecular lab, we have the proteomics facility, genomic facility, and the metabolomic facility. Next, there are various disciplines that, as I already told you, that we have the garden, then botany, pharmacognosy, pharmacy, chemistry, pharmacology, biochemistry, and pathology. The hierarchy of the post in the CCRS is that we have in Group A, we have the Director General. After that is Deputy Director General. These posts are at CCRS headquarters, Delhi, that is in Janakpuri. Then we have the institute directors at all the central 10 institutes. We have the directors, and then we have the assistant director in charges at regional Ayurveda research institutes, that are 21 research institute regional. And after that, it's the research officer. Then in the Group B, it comes assistant research officer, and Group C, it comes research assistant and the pharmacist. Now we will give the detail what exactly we have, the how much scope we have for the pharmacy. I will talk only about the M.Pharm and B.Pharm or D.Pharm and MVSC. In case of the assistant directors, as we are the from the allied discipline, we start with the assistant director pharmacology. We have 4 posts all over India, and in that we MSc or M.Pharmacy pharmacology as our assistant director pharmacology. That is the qualification that is required. At present, we have 3 veterinary MSc graduate in pharmacology as assistant director, and 1 M.Pharm pharmacology as a assistant director pharmacology. He is the head at the Chennai Central Research Institute. Then we have pharmacognosy, 2 AD. This in case of pharmacognosy, if you see, we have the M.Pharm pharmacognosy graduate or M.Pharm Ayurveda graduate. These two disciplines, or we can say the courses, PG courses, they are having the scope for the to work as an assistant director pharmacognosy. Then next is the pharmaceutical science. 1 post of AD pharmaceutical science is there. In that we have the M.Pharm pharmaceutical science graduate who can work as a AD pharmaceutical science. Then next is research officer. This is also a Group 1 post. Group A post. In this, we have research officer pharmacology. 9 posts are there. They are from MSc or M.Pharmacy with M.Pharmacology, with pharmacology, or even now recently we have some MS pharmacology students also, even MS regulatory toxicology students also. They have been selected. They are from NIFER and NIFER Guwahati and NIFER Mohali. So these two people, from these 2 institutes, we have the near about 4 to 5 students selected as a research officers for the pharmacology. Then animal experimental pathology. This is the separate. This comes under the pharmacology, but we have the specialized experimental pharmacology. Those who are graduate in MSc pathology, we take them from for the pathology slide evaluation of the animals. Then we have the pharmacognosy 6 post. In that again, qualification is M.Pharm pharmacognosy and M.Pharm Ayurveda. Actually, others are also there, medicinal plant and all these things. Just I'm concentrating only on the M.Pharm or pharmacy or the veterinary. Then next is research officer, pharmaceutical technology. We have two posts. They are from the MPharm, pharmaceutical science. We also have research officer pharmacy. They are 5 posts. They are from the MPharm pharmacy or any branch of the pharmacy. Then we have the chemistry also. Under this chemistry, research officer chemistry, of course we have the MSc chemistry, organic, inorganic and all, but we have the additional qualification where if we can if a person is from the MPharm Ayurved quality control, he is also eligible for the research officer chemistry. So that chemistry posts are 12. Then next is the ARO, that is the assistant research officer. This is the group B post. Under this post, we have 16 in pharmacology. Again, it will be MSc or MPharm pharmacology. Then even MS regulatory toxicology or MS pharmacology, they are also eligible for this post. Then we have pharmacognosy 7 post, that is for pharmacognosy and MPharm Ayurved. Next is pharmacy. We have 1 ARO post, that is for the MPharm pharmaceutics. Then MPharm pharmaceutical science and quality assurance or MPharm Ayurved. These are for the pharmacy graduates. ARO pharmacy. Then next is chemistry. Chemistry, we have the 9 post. Again, same thing. It is for the as I have told you, it is for the MPharm Ayurvedic quality control. Then next is research assistant. These posts are for pharmacology. We have actually by mistake it is written 3, but it is 5. That is for MSc and MPharm pharmacology. Then pharmacist, we have grade 1. It is for total 65 posts are there. There we take D-Pharm also and B-Pharm graduates also. They are eligible, or they are that is the qualification required. Then pharmacist diploma holder also 1 post we have. And pharmacy on RA pharmacy, we have there are 4 posts. That is for the MPharm pharmaceutical science. Recently, one person from Modern Pharmacy College, he joined Kolkata just 2 days back as a research assistant. He is the student of sir only, Chaudhary sir. He has Mr. Gharat. He has done MPharm pharmaceutical science, MPharm Sutics from the Modern Pharmacy College. And next is RA. We have for RA we have 26 post for the RA chemistry. These are all the group C post. Now, now I can say what are the exactly roles of these peoples. If we see pharmacology people, we do the in vivo studies, in vitro studies. Whatever the toxicity studies are there, efficacy studies are there, they are done by the pharmacologist. And after that, we have the pharmacy peoples. Pharmacy, we do have our own pharmacy. We prepare the formulations or the Ayurvedic preparations or powders, churn and ointments, oils, everything. It is prepared in our pharmacy department. At Kolkata, we have the good pharmacy department. It is at Jhansi also. We have recently developed a good pharmacy. Then at Punjab, it is at Ludhiana. So these are the various major institutes where we do we have the good pharmacy for the preparation of various Ayurvedic formulations or the drugs as per the Ayurveda. Then chemistry, we do all the analytical chemistry parts in the chemistry department, and that is done by the MPharm quality assurance peoples. So in whatever there is Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India, according to that Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia of India, we do all the parameters, all the analytical parameters that are required for the regulatory purpose. Then we have the pharmacognosy. Pharmacognosy, we do the all the in powder microscopy and as well as the even the monograph preparations. We do the phytochemistry part under the pharmacognosy department. Now, moreover, I have already told you that we have the molecular things we are doing at present at Pune. The reason is that whatever the samples we are treating the samples with patients with in the IPD or OPD with the Ayurvedic drugs, then those samples are taken for the biochemistry and pathology. After that, we take the sample for molecular. In that, we see the proteomics, genomics, and other biomarkers. That is the metabolomics. Even we collect the we do proteomics, metabolomics in vitro also, and the in vitro pharmacology. So that in depth, what exactly we do, that I will give in details. Now, molecular studies, we treat the human or the animal cell lines. Example, breast cancer or pancreatic or liver cancer cell lines. We at Pune, we have a good lab. If you get chance, you please do visit our in vitro pharmacology facility. It is one of the best facility in the IH department, where we have animal as well as the human cell lines. We have the all the facilities that is required for the proteomics, metabolomics studies, and even genomic studies at that particular institute. Then next is we have a good facility of microbiology. There we treat bacteria and fungus. All these experiment where we treat the cell lines, or we do the experiment on the cell lines or bacteria or antifungal or anti bacterial activity. We isolate those proteins from the all these samples, even clinic. All these samples we are isolating, and then from that samples we isolate the proteins. Those proteins after isolation, we run it through the IF. That is, we either do the 1D or 2D. As 1D means we directly load the sample on the gel, and after running the sample on the vertical gel electrophoresis, that is SDS page electrophoresis, we isolate those particular bands, and that bands are run on the that are digested. If we see the all these things, there is first we will do the isolation of the protein. Then after that, we'll do with the help of the Bradford assay, we will quantify it. Then we will run it on the gel. After gel running, if you see here, these are various spots of the protein, and this spot, depending on that spots, we are isolating it, and those part we are digesting it. We are removing the gel, and we are digesting the protein, and then after that we are running on the LCMS. So here again, I'm telling the things that if it is in case of the cell line, we can do the if we want to go for the diabetic anti-diabetic activity, then we will select the cell line first. We have to select the cell lines, what exactly we have to do under this. First, in diabetes, we'll target the first important thing is pancreas, because it secretes the insulin. So we check whether it is having the insulin secretory activity by selecting the cell line that acts on the that is from the pancreas. For example, INS1 or RIN5F. That is these are the pancreatic cell lines that are that we select for the insulin secretagogue activity. Then next cell line that we can select for the diabetes is the cell line that where there is metabolism or the breakdown of the glucose or the storage of the glucose, and that is the skeletal cell line. there why we select this skeletal, because glucose, we want to see the glucose uptake of a glucose uptake due to the whether it is enhanced due to the drug or not. So for that we select the cell line that is derived from the skeletal muscles, or we can also select the cell line from the liver where there is metabolism also. So liver cell line like HG2 or the Chang liver, that can be selected for the liver experiment and for the diabetes. Then one more thing is that we can, if you want to see the effect of the drugs on the glucose, we for the diabetes purpose we can select the adipocyte cell lines. So these adipocyte site cell lines, they will give you the idea about the whether the there is storage of the glucose or not. So for that purpose we can stain it with the red oil stain, and we can know the fat droplets that are present in the adipocytes, whether they are reduced by the treatment with the this particular anti-diabetic drug or not. So these are various aspects. If you want to go for the selection of the cell line, it is important if when we go for the any study. So diabetes, I already told you, for first is insulin secreting and all this activity. If you want to see, we have to go for the pancreatic cell line. Then for the metabolism or uptake, glucose uptake, we have to go for the cell lines like skeletal muscle or the liver. And for the storage, we have to go for the adipocyte cell lines. So in such a way, we can say similar way we can go for the other activities also. For example, if you want to go for the anti-hyperlipidemic activity, then for that again same cell line, that is adipocyte cell line, we can select. For knowing the whether we or obesity also, the same cell line we can select, and we can check whether it reduces the fat droplets after the treatment of with the Ayurvedic drugs or not. And after these treatments, we isolate the protein from the cells, and these cells isolated proteins we either run in 1D or 2D. 1D means one dimensional, just run on the vertical electrophoresis, and that's solely that gels are isolated. Then that particular patch is run in the digested with the trypsin, and then it is run in the LCMS. Then in 2D or in case of 2D, we run the these samples on the protein samples on isoelectric focusing instrument IEF. So under that IEF, it will separate the proteins depending on the charge. If you see here, this is the IEF isoelectric focusing strip. These strips, if you see, it has separated the protein depending on the charge. So here, this is the first dimension, and we have separated the protein. We can separate the protein depending on the charge that is present on the proteins. Now, the thing is that this IEF strip, we can put it on vertically, horizontal on the vertical electrophoresis, and this one spot, it may have the two or three or maybe more than that proteins, and that proteins are to be separated with the help of the second dimension. So here we have, first dimension is the isoelectric focusing, and second dimension is the gel, that is vertical electrophoresis. So here these things are done so as to make the protein separation properly. More separation is more ideal for the identification of the protein, because when, if you see, when if in a class, when students enter in a group, and when we start to count, we are not able to if we fix a camera at the entrance, we will only the camera will capture only the people those are in front of the camera, and in a group, in in a group, you will not able to identify all the peoples, or you will not get the clear cut idea of the peoples who have entered the hall. But if we send it in a systematic, in a row, then in that way we will identify each and everyone who is entering into the in the class. So similar thing is there in proteins also. If we have a good separation, we will able to identify each and every protein, because a minute change in a protein is important in the disease conditions. Because why we are doing that thing, I will I will give you the clear cut idea after this slide. Now after electrophoresis we have done, after that we stain those with the silver staining, and so that the spot will be visible. Then we extract that particular spots, and after the excision we digest the we remove the protein from the gel. And after that these proteins we digest it, so that proteins they are intact, so we have to convert it into the peptides for the to run it into the mass spectrometry. Now whatever I was telling you, that why we require the isolation, and why we have to do the particular 1D or 2D, the reason is that if we directly can isolate the protein, and that protein sample directly we can we can digest it with the trypsin. After digestion we can directly run it in the LCMS. This procedure is called as in solution procedure. Means we collect the sample from the human or the cells or the bacteria or virus. Those from that we isolate the protein. Those proteins, isolated proteins, we directly do the trypsin digestion. That means we convert those intact protein into the peptides, and that peptides we directly run it into the LCMS. So this is a in solution digestion, we can say, or in solution method. There is no need for the gel run and all these things. It is shortcut actually, but here the chances, as I already told you, there are more chances to miss the minute changes or the proteins. They are the major responsible for the changes in the human body, or they are the playing the major role in the disease. So in this, just as the example I had told about the people entering or the students entering into the class, so there it will be we may lose, we will due to the overlap of the proteins, we will not over masking, we can say, we will not able to detect all the proteins. So for making it better one, it is always good if we should go for the 2D experiment. In the 2D, we can use the iso electrophoresis focusing unit, as I have told you. Second one is, there is one more instrument, that is off-gel fractionator actually. Okay, that is an off-gel fractionator. There is instead of isoelectric focusing, we load a sample on that particular isoelectric focusing off-gel fractionator. It will separate the protein depending on their pH. Same thing it is done for the IEF also. So these two instruments, they can be used as a 1D, and for 2D, again those samples we can load from strip, we can load it on the vertical electrophoresis, and that is 2D. And then for the off-gel fractionator, those samples you can run on the gel, or second thing I can say, those samples from the off-gel fractionator, you can collect it, and those samples you can run on, you can digest it and directly run into the LCMS. So there are various mixed combinations that we can run it depending on our target, whether we are doing targeted proteomics or targeted metabolomics, or we do targeted non-targeted proteomics or non-targeted metabolomics. So depending on our experiment, we can run the particular method of the protein isolation. Then after that, if you see clear here, we have the LCMS. This is the ultra ultra LCMS actually. So in case of this ultra, we have the again column is also there. This column, this again it will help when we run the peptide samples. It will again helpful for the separation of the protein depending on their size. So then again we are this thing, everything it is done only to make the good separation of the protein so that it runs in there is good chance for the identification in the MS mass spec. Now here whatever the instrument you are seeing, this is the Q-top. It is quadrifold. Top stands for the time of flight. Here this is the mass spec, and this tube, it is the 1.5 meter tube. This tube again it is made this instrument is specifically good for the resolution, means to if you see here this is the one sample example I can say. Here it is, you can see it is overlapping, but for good to separate two peaks, those who are overlapping or near about, we have a good resolution, and this instrument, that is the Q-top, it gives the good resolution, that is the separation of the peak. So this instrument is good for the separation. And how it is good for the separation, here again when sample runs through this instrument, it goes through this Q-top, this tube. Here when if we start from I'm just telling example, if we start from Kothur and if we want to go to Shivajinagar, we take, if we go by the cycle, it may take at evening 5 o'clock if we start, we may have the we may travel good by the cycle, because we will cycle can have a it requires less space to travel. Then motorcycle, it will take more it will be more easy to approach this Shivajinagar. If we take car, it will be taking a little more time. If we travel by the bus, it will take more time. So here this is depending on the size, means it is the mass. In case of protein, it is the mass. So when we allow a particular protein to travel a long distance, like relay or short, there are many people, they if we ask them to do the relay, cross country, so when it is long run, if two molecules are having the same molecular weight near about for example 100.5 and 100.8, so these molecules, when they are run for a longer time or through a longer distance, then definitely depending on their mass, they will get separated properly. And that is the use of this top, that is the time of flight, this tube, that is the most important for the resolution. So this instrument is the there are various instruments, other instruments also. If you want, this is for the proteomics, it is good one. If you want to go for there are now many advanced also. There are ion trap instrument is also there, that gives good separation of the proteins. The quantity of the protein that are identified there, that is also increased in the ion trap. So there are many good instruments. The Orbitrap is also there. These are the recent technologies. They give good number of proteins from the sample. Then next is if you want to go for the metabolomics, you can use this, but I will give you the suggestion that more appropriate is the triple cord. Triple cord means there we can go detect a minute quantity of sample also. That is, triple cord is good for the pharmacokinetics purpose or molecular metabolomics purpose. Now these are the some experiment what exactly we are doing at Pune. what I have done on the proteomics. We have collected samples. If these samples, as already I have told you, if we don't have a sample in the our garden, we collect it from the we do the survey and we collect it from the various field. For example, Mahabaleshwar or the Siahgad area, or from the Kolhapur, Panala and all these things. From those areas, we collect the sample. After collection, we dry those samples. Either we take bark, mostly we prefer it is the sample should be seeds or the leaves, but whatever the uh, sample that are parts that are we are selecting, it is all as per the Ayurvedic text, whatever it is written in Ayurveda. Now here I want to make one clear cut demarcation, that is why we say Ayurveda and why we say when we have to say medicinal plant. Medicinal plant is different from the Ayurveda. Actually, Ayurveda, all Ayurvedic plants can be medicinal plants, but all medicinal plant cannot be the Ayurvedic plants. Whatever the plants that are mentioned in the shrubs or medicinal these things, shrubs or herbs or the plants that are mentioned in the Ayurvedic text and Charak Sahita and all that, those comes under Ayurveda. Whereas other things, whatever we are doing, that is the medicinal plant research, not the Ayurveda research. Ayurveda research, what the plants are selected from the those which are mentioned in the Ayurveda ancient text. And the collection also, there are various things we have to do when we are doing the Ayurvedic research. In our research, normally in pharmacology or the pharmacy, what we do, we collect the plants, we collect the part, any plant, any part, that is seeds, leaves, bark, roots, or the this thing, seeds, fruits. So these flowers, here we do as per our we can say the research, we want where exactly which part it is giving more activity and all these things, and we go for the estimation of the constituents that are present in these various parts, and depending on that we can say which part is having more chemical constituent which is having particular activity. So that is the important in case of our medicinal research. But in Ayurveda, already it is mentioned in the text that this part is to be collected. Then there is timing also important. We normally we collect at any time, but in Ayurveda it is time is also mentioned. When this plant has to be collected, which season it has to be collected, whether it is to be collected in the morning or in the afternoon or in the night, in the this thing, Purnima or the Amosha and all these things. Everything it is mentioned in the Ayurveda, what is the timing, and that the reason, season also it is mentioned. The reason may be the in during that particular this thing, timing, the constituent of that particular the constituent which is the active principle that is present in particular plant, it may be more in quantity, and that may be the reason why we have to collect at that particular timing and all these things. Those research, that fundamental things we are doing the research, why exactly it is said in Ayurveda that it has to be collected in during the Amosha or Purnima, or that means full moon, or the or even the morning time or afternoon time, or even summer, or during the rainy season or the winter season. So these things we have to find out, and that is only the actual research, that is what we pharmacology or as a pharmacologist or the pharmacist, we have to do this research in the Ayurveda, in CCRS, or in Ayush also. I can say the same thing is there. As I have already worked in the Siddha, the same structure it is there in the Siddha unit. A good unit is at the Central Research Institute for Siddha. It is at Chennai. So all this, whatever I am telling, it is also available at that Chennai center for the Siddha. So now after collection, I have told you about the collection. After collection, we have the botanists. Even though this collection is done by the botanists and all these things, they will make it authentication whether really it is the that, because there are, for example, we have Grevia species. Now in Grevia, we have the Grevia asiatica, then Grevia this thing, Hirsutuka, or this thing Hirsuta and all this thing Grevia, they are Grevia asiatica is also there. So these they have the these plants. If you see in the nature, we will not able to identify them with our naked eye, and for that we require season of flowering. And then depending on flowers and all these things, we can identify. Same is, for example, for Ceropegia. Ceropegia, it is bulbosa. Ceropegia asiatica, Ceropegia Sahadrica is there. So this Ceropegia, bulbosa is there. This Ceropegia, they are the bulbs actually. They are in the ground. If we collect it like that, we will not able to identify which variety it is. So these varieties only we can identify when they flower. So depending on that flowering only, we can identify which variety it is there, or which type of that particular plant it is. So these things we have a good thing, good molecular biology lab at Pune. We do the fingerprinting. We have the DNA barcoding facility also there. So with the help of that molecular in off seasons means when there is no flowering, without flowering, we standardize the DNA barcoding and all this thing. It is standardized so that we can know if sample comes and for the testing, we can without the flower or even the powder, if it is in powder form, we can know which plant it is there. Even adulteration also we can detect with the help of the DNA fingerprinting. It can be chemical DNA fingerprinting also, or chemically also we can identify, and with the help of the botany or pharmacognosy also we can identify which type of which variety it is there, whether it is that particular plant or it is mixed with the any other other plant or not. So these things are these are more good. We have also done identification of the 5 to 6 plants, near about 12 plants we have isolated, we have identified from a formulation. We have a one Ayush D formulation which contains 12 plants, and that formulation we have that whole formulation we identified what are the different plants present in that. We have collected it from the market also, and we have mixed it, and we have sent those sample for the cross verification also, and we were able to identify what are those 5 or what are those 12 plants that are present in that formulation. So in future we will know able to know whatever the sample it is in the market, it is prescribed by the doctors to us, whether what it contains. So that is a good things which we are Ayush department is doing in the research. So we have the DNA barcoding, DNA fingerprinting in the Pune unit. Then after this identification, powder microscopy and all these things, we send it. We do the extraction that is done by the chemistry department. We do the extraction as per the Ayurveda, not as per the whatever it is in our modern science, because here again, or if you want to do we have to compare it with the modern science and the Ayurveda. What are the different things? Mostly in our Ayurveda, as we are dealing with the cell lines, here we have to sample should be water soluble, or it should be DMO soluble and all this thing. So for that purpose we do the extraction here, and in Ayurveda, if you see, mostly these drugs are in the form of aqueous, that is quath is there, or the tablets are there, or the powders are there, or even some avleha is there, that is ointment, this thing, oil, ghee preparation is there. So all these things, if you, whatever we, that may be the reason what we are doing in the modern, we do the extraction and then we use those plants for the experiment. But in case of the Ayurveda, they are directly very, the powder itself is direct, intact powder is given, and it may have some different effect on the human body. So that also we have to check while doing the experiment. These are many facts, because when we do the in modern, if you do the extraction, it is the fractionization we do. That is, we start with the non-polar to polar we go. We start with the hexane, then we go for the ethane, chloroform, then ethyl acetate, then next is alcohol, then we go for the water. This is the various fraction wise we go, but in Ayurveda directly it is aqueous. So those things, all these things we have to think while doing the research and in the Ayurveda. So we have to cover all. Whenever you are, we are going in the Ayurvedic, we are dealing with the Ayurvedic drugs. We have to try to understand exactly. We should have a good team of a botanist, pharmacologist, chemistry, molecular person, and in that we should have a one Ayurvedic person also, because we should first understand how Ayurveda in it is what is prescribed in Ayurveda, how it is used in Ayurveda, and as per that, depending on that, we have to give the solution or we have to design our experiment. So these are various things that has to be that is different between the what we are doing in medicinal plant and what is done in the Ayurvedic or the Siddha research. Now here I am telling what exactly we have done. After extraction preparation, we lyophilize those extract. Here extraction, we do not use heating thing, because there are many chances that the heating may destroy the constituent, active constituent, or the that are present in the extract that are heat liable. So as to do, just we do the infusion or the decoction, this thing, simply we have to immerse that particular powder in the aqueous, in the water for 48 hours. Intermittently for 6 hours you have to shake it on the shaker, and then after 48 hours you filtrate it through the filter paper. Whatever the filtrate you are getting, that filtrate you have to lyophilizer we are using again here to remove the solvent and make that particular extract into fine powder. So here also we are not applying the heat. That means we are not using the rotary evaporator. Normally we use Soxhlet and then we use the rotary evaporator. But here in Ayurveda, at Pune, we do the important thing is we do it with the lyophilization. Lyophilizer we have. So for same alcohol also, if you are we for the comparison for comparison purpose, we take the hydroalcoholic extract, because most of the compound it may be dissolved in the alcohol, so they will be present in hydroalcoholic extract. So as to check the effect in that comparison to the aqueous, we should not miss a point or miss a active active principle. For that purpose, we do take the hydroalcoholic extract also for the comparison purpose. Then as we have the LCMS, these extracts powder, we again dissolve in acetonitrile and water 1:1, and that is run in the LCMS for checking the what are the various metabolites that are present in that aqueous extract or the hydroalcoholic extract. So this thing is more whenever we are doing any research, First thing is collection. It should be time we have to follow. What time, what season. Then because that is the reason why some people are getting the good effects in from the maybe from Pune. Now if I collect in this season, I get good result from Pune. I will not get good result from the Kolkata or maybe from Chennai, because everywhere the climates are not same. Everywhere climates are changing, and even the soil also it changes. So depending on that, chemical constant also varies. So important thing is we should know what should be the collection of the whenever we are doing, we should mention at least that this was collected from this region. For that also you have the instrument compass. You should know from which longitude and all these things. There is data. It is said as in botany or pharmacognosy we say passport data. We should have a passport data. What is the collection time, who has collected, for what, from what location, what is longitude, attitude, all these things it should be there. So that is a good research. With those things we should be prepared for the research. Then after that we go for the powder microscopy and all these things. Then we should go for the we should know what exactly the chemical constituents are present. So our experiment should be designed in that way. Then we run it either in GCMS or LCMS, and we should know what are the chemical constituents that are present in the that particular extract. Then next is after that that comes the pharmacology part is that here we treat the cells. We can go for the biochemical assays. Biochemical assays, they are just the we take the substrate and we try to there are various kits. For example, cytochrome kits are also cytochrome P450 kits are also available. For there are near about 4 enzymes that are major enzymes that are dealing with the 90% of the metabolism of the drugs in our pharmacology. So those eight enzymes, if we select biochemical assays, we can check what is the inhibitory activity of these drugs on those enzymes. So that thing also we can check with the biochemical. If you want to go for the diabetes, for example, diabetes we can go for the alpha amylase and alpha glucosidase experiment also. That is the bio. Even DPP 4 that experiment also we can do. Then DPPH also we can do. So various experiments we can do with biochemical analysis. And then after that we can go for the cell culture based also, or we can do the antibacterial. If we have the drug that is for having antibacterial activity, you can go for the antibacterial activity, or if it is antiviral, then antiviral activity also we can do. So next is cell culture. Now in cell culture we depending on the what is the here it was the cancer, so we have taken the various cancer cell lines. That is the breast cancer cell line, then liver cancer cell line, then cervical cancer cell line, then pancreatic cancer cell line, head and neck oral cancer cell line. So these cell lines, whenever we are doing the research in the in vitro, we have to select many models, because there should be series of the assays, not just only one assay we have to select and we have to finish with the conclusion it is not active or it is active. Instead of that, we have to select the various that is only the drawback in the in vitro, that we have to select various assays so as to rule out the different mechanism how it is acting. Or we should not miss a point that it may be having, for example in diabetes, it may be having inhibitory alpha amylase inhibitory activity, or it may be having alpha glucosidase inhibitory activity. So these things, each and every experiment if we are doing for the diabetes, we have to do all these things. So these are the things we are doing in cancer also. We select various cell lines, because as I have told, this was a project. In this project we have selected 10 plants, but I got the results in only 2 plants. In 2 plants, one plant, it was only active against the pancreatic cell line. It was not showing any cytotoxicity on other cell lines. So that was only specific to the pancreas only. So that is the reason I was telling that we have to select various cell lines for the when we are doing the in vitro cancer studies. Then other plant, it has showed the effect on the all the 5. So out of 10, 2 plants were good, and in that 2 we have the only one plant which is active on one cell line, and other was on the all the cell lines. Then here also we can have a combination. Then we tried a combination with these 2 extract, and we tried to reduce the toxicity of the that particular toxicity means I can say not toxicity, but we have to reduce the dose of the particular concentration of that extract. So here I want to mention that when we are doing the anti-cancer activity, cytotoxicity, I have observed many people's when papers are also there, when it is 50 microgram or 100 microgram per ml, we say it is having good. When it is IC50, it is 100 or 50 microgram, we say yeah, it is good. But it's not like that. We here in this study, we have selected 20 microgram per ml for the Ayurveda, and for allopathy it is 10 microgram per ml. So these are the then we can say the limit. Above that, if it is there, then we should not say that it is having good potency or like that. If it is having 20 microgram per ml IC50 of Ayurveda, then Ayurvedic drug, then it is a good drug. Then that after that, we after doing the cytotoxicity, we go for the apoptosis, because even though it is a cytotoxic, it does not mean that it is a anti-cancer drug. To confirm as an anti-cancer, we have to do the apoptosis, so that here we can do the caspase, multi-caspase assay also we can do, and we can confirm that whether the apoptosis is activated or not. So if apoptosis is activated, that means this drug is having anti-cancer activity. Again, this thing we can confirm by the one more test, that is the DNA fragmentation. So DNA fragmentation also, it gives you the more information whether it is having the anti-cancer or activity or not, means it is doing the apoptosis or not. So this is the important thing. Then after that, if it is having good apoptotic effect and all, then we go for the treatment that cells we are treating, and then that dose that after those are fixed depending on the IC50s, and we see what is the effect at IC50, then IC25 and IC0. So we want to check what is the effect of the drug on these cell lines at various concentrations. I have told you the 3, that is IC50, then IC25 and IC0. Because why I have taken IC50? Because cell should be live and we should get the protein. It should not denature. So that is the reason we are taking IC50, then IC25 and IC0. And here we will know how the protein are affected, with which protein is upregulated and which protein it is downregulated. So after that, after isolation of the protein, we run it into gel, and after that we isolation of those protein spots, we digest it with the trypsin, and then we run it into the LCMS, and we identify what are the peptides, and depending on the peptides, we identify which protein it is there that is responsible for the activity. Now this was for the cell lines. Then we have also done the experiment with the Ayurvedic Tinospora. Everyone knows Gulwil. So this Tinospora, we have various this thing host of the Tinospora. As it is a climber, it climbs on the neem tree, it climbs on the we have the this thing in case of this neem tree is there, then Pongama pinnata is there, then Karanj, that is the Karanj. Then next tree is the Babul. Babul means acacia. So this from the different jambul tree, we have collected from different 5 hosts. We have collected the samples of the Tinospora. Here, if you see, these are the stems of the Tinospora. We have collected from different plants that are the host of that particular Tinospora. And after that, we as per Ayurveda, we ask our volunteers to cut those strips as it is given in the Ayurveda, and put it into the water in the copper container for overnight. Then after overnight, morning we have to collect, we have to just pour the water, whatever the water it is there, that water we have to only drink. Other things we have to remove it. So here, whatever the Tinospora content, it has entered into that water from the stems cuttings that are taken into the we have taken for the experiment. And then after that, after treatment, we have 2 groups. One is a control group and one is the treatment group. So in this control and treatment group, we have collected the blood. Then that blood was sent for the clinical biochemistry for all the hematology analysis and biochemical analysis. Then that was done for the plasma and even for the urine samples, because we most of time we get the metabolites in urine also. So those metabolites also are responsible. Why? I will tell you in detail when we go for the other interpretation. Now after this urine collection or plasma collection, we plasma, we isolate the protein, and other part it is used for the metabolomics, and proteins is used for the proteomics purpose. Then same thing, we run it on gel, and when we digest and we run it into the LCMS, where in case of the metabolite, whatever the part that is with the help of acetone and chloroform, there is one assay. This method, it will separate the proteins, then lipids, and the polar soluble part, and depending on that metabolites from the aqueous layer we will collect, and we will run it into LCMS for the detection of the metabolites. So this is for the plant sample, urine plasma sample. Then urine sample is to be with the similar method, that is chloroform and acetone method. That method we separate only the aqueous layer we have to collect, and that we have to run into the LCMS, because the protein, this urine also, it may have some proteins or some cell debris and all these things, so that is to be removed. And for that we take the only aqueous part layer from the method, that is chloroform and acetone method. So this after running, in case of the urine, why we are taking urine, we have observed that in urine we got some metabolites that are excreted, or that are the byproducts of the products of the microbes, that is gut microbes. So these are the things where we can, if people are interested in gut microbiota study, so they can get some metabolites in the urine also, and depending on that, you can identify which particular colony it is more in the that particular gut of the patient. So depending on what metabolite it is excreted. Even for gut microbiota, you can collect the feces, and that feces can be checked for the microbial load, and as well as we can do the metabolomics of feces also. So fecal sample also we can collect and we can do the metabolomics of that. We can know what is metal, if it is excreted, what are the metabolites that are excreted by the gut microbiota. So this thing we have done. Then no, gut microbiota we have not done this thing. Just I'm telling you for the information. Just we got the urine sample and we uh, we uh, we got information that particular metabolites that are secreted by the gut microbiota, that also we have got the in the our study. So that was there. Then we have we have whatever the results we have got. The if you see, these are the various interpretation of the groups and all proteomics chart. Then this is the meta pathway. So depending on that also we can know how in which pathway it is affecting, which protein it is affecting. So these things we can do with the proteomics and metabolomics. So that are the there are many things actually, but just as my scope is only with the what pharmacist and pharmacologist can do, so I'm limiting it to that only. Why I have given more emphasis on the proteomics, metabolomics, and genomics is that I have observed that in our syllabus, where we mostly give more weightage to the in vivo studies and in vitro studies. In vitro also that is not that much given, but most is we give for the in vivo in animals. So I request all the faculty members and the decision making policy makers of the pharmacy council and even the veterinary council to give more emphasis on the research, application based research, because here if you if something is, if you want to do in the Ayurveda, to know the mechanism, how really it acts and all. So these proteomics and metabolomics and genomics, these people, these experiments or these assays may help you to get the clear-cut idea how our drug is acting. Because as Ayurveda here, not only one constituent, it has many constituent, and they are acting on the body. And so so as to get the collective effect, it has to be done in proteomics, metabolomics, and genomics has to be done. It can be done in vitro, it can be done in vivo, in animals, or in human. So these are the really good research areas which pharmacologist, we as a pharmacologist or the pharmacist, we have to go for the this type of the research. See, now in Ayush, now what is, as we all know, there is COVID-19 pandemic is there, and I want to brief that what Ayush is doing in this COVID-19 control. We have the Ayush advisory. We have done the in silico activities studies also, and we have gone for the in vitro activity directly in the cell lines. We have sent the samples to the Faridabad, that is the DST Institute, DBT institutes for the analysis. Then after that, we are in touch with them for the in vivo activity also in animals, and clinical trials also. The clinical trials are in progress at various clinical centers of the Ayush. So whatever the drugs they will become coming in the market, it will be it may be having a good immunomodulatory activity, or even few have demonstrated as a antiviral also. So but there are more research is to be done. So after in-depth research only, it will be come into the market or in the public. So Ayush is doing well in the even this pandemic situation also. We have Ayush Koth also. If you observe that our 30 units, we have we have our Ayush preparation, that Koth we are giving to our employees on, and we are trying to prevent the COVID-19 spread in our institutions also. So this is the what Ayush is doing in the COVID research. Now, whatever the targets we have selected for in silico studies, that is the spike glycoprotein, then envelope glycoprotein, RNA, DNA dependent RNA polymerase, then furin inhibitors, and all these things are there. Then TNF alpha reducers, neuroprotectors, TCL stabilizers, and protein inflammatory cytokines down regulators. So this is the my team at this was the team who has helped me to reach these milestones, and these are the peoples with the backbone of our institute at Pune. This is the pharmacology department at the Pune. Thank you. If you have questions, I'm open for the question.
The session is open for questions. If anyone want to ask question regarding sir's presentation, you can unmute yourself and ask if you are not comfortable with chat.
You may ask me, even contact me through mail and all. We have the mail, mail and phone numbers displayed on our websites. So through them, that also you can contact. Anytime you are welcome for whatever the help you require from the Ayush or our units. You can directly approach our in charges at various director in charge or the assistant director in charges at our regional offices at the Kothurud, or if you are from the other state, each and every state we have we total 31 units we are having. So all state we have the units. There is no state that is left which is without the Ayush Ayurveda units. So I'm thankful to the organization. I'm for the giving me chance to interact with the all these participants and to share my views for the dissemination, or we can say it may help for the our pharmacy and veterinary field for the future experiments, so as to give some direction to our experiments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the valuable information you have provided. And thank you, sir. If I want to summarize your lecture in short, you have started with all the organizations Ayush is running with, I think, Central Council for Research and Ayurvedic Sciences, for which you are working. So you have elaborated the working of this CCRAS, how the different parts like botany, cognosy, chemistry departments are playing the vital role in running CCRAS. Also, you have emphasized the number of pharmacy, you can say, vacancies for pharmacy people in the CCRAS and Ayush departments, various departments. Like I think you started with DG, DDG, director, assistant director, then research officer, ARO, RA. All these are the actually the vacancies available for the pharmacist in, I think, mostly the Cology department, then Cognosy department, MPharm in Ayurveda, and also diploma and BPharm people also can apply for these positions in this department, CCRAS. Then you have started with the, I think your lecture more emphasized on the case studies. You have worked, you have so much wide research area in which you have worked, so you have tried to actually touch upon all the points like protein biomarkers or separation of proteins or peptides, then how the LCMS will play the role in the separation and identification of peptides. Then also you have also explained that what is the difference between the Ayurvedic plants and medicinal plants. Also the how it is important to for Ayurvedic plants. You mentioned the from which area it has been collected, at what time, at which season it has been collected, all the plants. Then you have also mentioned and told us about the extraction process and how the solvent selection will be done, then cell line studies, how we can perform. Also, you have explained the, I think, the lab which is actually already running in the Pune at Kothur, which I think all the participants will take advantage of that they can visit after pandemic. I hope so that they will visit that facility and will try to take the advantage of that facilities, where I think diabetic studies, anti-cancer studies, and various, I think, metabolic studies also with blood, urine, and feces samples also can be done, and also different cell line studies you can perform at those labs. So, sir, thank you for giving the information about all the labs and the cell line studies which we can perform in the facilities available. I think not only in Pune, but you have already mentioned that 21 units are running for the labs. And also the case studies you have discussed made the session more entertaining and interesting, sir. Thank you for that. And also the application-based research should be done, what you told all the pharmacists who are attending the lecture. And in COVID-19 also the Ayush is, I think, helping with the help of the different in silico, in vitro, in vivo, and clinical studies. That will also be helpful for all the Indian citizens. So thank you, sir, for actually giving all the this vast area you have covered in your lecture, and that will be definitely it will be beneficial and helpful for our participants. Thank you, sir. So as the uh, token of our love, respect, and gratitude, we want to give you the virtual, because now the whole world is becoming virtual. So please, sir, accept our virtual bouquet and certificate from the organizers on
Thank
behalf
you, ma'am.
of Progressive Education Society's Modern College of Pharmacy, Pune,
Thank
and our
you.
coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you for the good audience. Actually, I think that there is no question, means either I'm not able to explain properly, or maybe there are various many questions. So with one stroke, it cannot be answers cannot be given. But you can call me or you can contact me anytime. You all are welcome.